everyone, this is Toyin. Welcome back to my channel. It's been a hot minute since I've been on this platform, approximately about 3 years. I can't believe it. I checked my analytics the other day for some strange reason, and I realized I hadn't been here for 3 years. So I'm back again just because trying something new, try to establish a routine and get back up and running. Some mornings is really, really difficult to get up and have some get up and go and do something. And then you look at the world around you and it just puts you into a deeper depressive slumber than you were before. But CBT, we're supposed to try new things, create a routine, and pretend until everything suddenly feels better or gets better, whichever one comes first. So in that vein, and talking about shit shows that I have seen and I want to express on this platform, there's a situation that I've been monitoring for a few months now, and it's to do with Daystar television, or the Daystar organization out of the United States of America. Now, if you're not aware, Daystar is a Christian ministry. They call themselves a Christian ministry because they spread the word of God, but what it actually is a Christian television channel. I'm not familiar with this channel in the sense that I don't watch this channel. However, I am familiar with the sense that back in the day when I used to have Sky TV, when you scroll and you come to channel 1000 and something before you hit the naughty channels, you'll come across like the Christian channels and some of like the more obscure channels. And I'm sure that I've come across Daystar by doing that in the past. I seem to recollect, but I'm not familiar with it because I don't watch television like that anymore, and I haven't for over a decade really. So I mean, what I will do is I will stream, but I don't watch television and I don't subscribe to Sky TV. However, Daystar, getting back to Daystar, was founded by a couple called Marcus and Joni Lamb, and the name to me is a beautiful name, but I wonder if that's their real name or if they made it up, because like Lamb of God and a Christian channel is just something that's funny to me. But Marcus and Joni Lamb started this television channel because Marcus Lamb felt a calling, or got a calling, to start a channel to in order to be able to spread the Christian ministry across the globe. And they've been very, very successful in doing that. Some heavy hitters that I'm not keen on, people that I would consider to be false prophets with problematic past, like Joel Osteen and T.D. Jakes, are amongst but a few that are on this platform. So it just lets you know the kind of company that they are keeping over there, to be honest. They also have some other pastors that have been embroiled in scandal that I didn't really know about them, but again, it shows you the kind of company that they were in. Anyway, I digress. So Daystar, the scandal that they're under is that the Marcus and Joni Lamb have been accused by their son, Jonathan Lamb, of hiding the sexual abuse of his daughter, who was then 5 years old. And the accusation or the allegation is that the daughter was being abused by Jonathan's sister, I think Rachel, by her husband. I'm not going to mention his name. They're calling him Pete, but the fact that I said I think it's Rachel's husband, you should be able to go. I mean, when I first come across the story, I dug around when they were saying Pete, but then they were saying it was a family member and it was the executive board, but it was only family members on the board. So that just left the children, and it wasn't the other sister and her husband, because they were also suspicious of this Pete guy. So it had to be him. So powers of deduction, it's Rachel's husband that abused Jonathan's young daughter. And they kept it in-house. They investigated everything in-house. Although Jonathan and Suzy supposedly went to the police, but because the child was so young, they weren't sure whether it was an abuser in the school or an abuser at the network where the child was also frequenting. But it later transpired that it was an abuser at the network, and then behavioral patterns indicated that the person that she seemed to be most uncomfortable around was this Pete character. And then also when other people had gone to Jonathan and Suzy Lamb to say, what's your child around this particular individual, then ergo powers of deduction, it might be this guy. But then when they were on a family retreat, Suzy alleged that this Pete character, Rachel's husband, followed her daughter up to her room when he knew she was going to be changing alone and naked. And that was suspicious behavior. It raised the hackles on the back of her neck, and she was just like, what's going on? And she asked her husband to go and investigate, and he caught this Pete indeed had followed the daughter into the bedroom on a separate floor. And then all hell broke loose. Jonathan, Suzy, everybody in the house told Marcus and Joni Lamb about it. And in fairness to them, they tried to investigate it internally by seeking an internal counselor or investigator, somebody that was professional, but like from the Christian world, to look into this matter. And then they were later told by the daughter Rebecca that her husband had been exonerated and all the allegations were unfounded. And they were only all too happy to go with that and to sweep everything under the rug and say everything should be closed off. The matter shouldn't be raised again, and everybody go back into your respective corners and be quiet about it, which is what happened. But subsequently, Marcus Lamb then dies from COVID, and instead of following the succession plan that Marcus Lamb had laid out, which was that the network was going to be passed on to Jonathan, who was being groomed to take over if anything should have happened to Marcus, Joni Lamb decided that she didn't want that to happen and she was going to take over. And then when she kind of leaves Earth's mortal coil, then it would go on to Jonathan. But Marcus Lamb had actually stipulated what the succession plan should be once he passed on. And in the succession plan, he had named Jonathan to succeed him, and he had named that Jonathan would be supported by his two sisters, Rachel and Rebecca, and Rebecca's husband. But he never mentioned Rachel's husband, the supposed abuser of Jonathan's daughter, to be part of the succession plan. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Jodi took over. Jonathan was compliant and stepped back. And then all of a sudden, a few months, well, she claims it was total a year, but the timeline is a bit sketchy. But a few months after Marcus died, Jodi gets with this guy called Doug Weiss, something like that. And he was supposed to be like a Christian marriage counselor, but I don't know what is going on. I don't know whether they were having an affair whilst Marcus was alive, because the speed with which everything took place, and Doug Weiss, who is this marriage counselor who was also married and running a business with his wife, who is like the beautiful green eyes of his life, and he's so in love with her, and he's been with her for 30 years, and the love never faded. And all of a sudden, Joni Lamb is available, and he is good to go. He's in there like a rocket, and he's divorced his wife, and he's courting Jodi, and the timeline is all sketchy, but everything just sort of entered everything, like Nigerians would say, oh, one around, but it entered each other somehow, one kind. And anyway, in a nutshell, she just remarries. She remarries about a year or two after Marcus dies. Fast, basically. The whole thing was fast. But in the whole situation, Jonathan and Suzy, like, initially, of course, they want their mum to be happy. Suzy is Jonathan's wife. They want the mum to be happy. But then they're like, something ain't right. This is a bit fast. This guy is a bit sketchy. Maybe take some time. Scope him very well. Scope him out. Let us know what it's about. Let us know if it's got staying power, because it's just not right. And then from the Christian side of things, they were thinking, well, not only is it not right, but he's like divorced his wife. Shouldn't he have tried to work things out with his wife, because he's a Christian marriage counselor? Wouldn't that be the right thing to do? Anyway, not so. One thing led to another. Jonathan and Suzy said they're going to attend the wedding, but they're not going to be active participants in the union because they don't believe that it was done in the Christian way. So of course Jodi's not happy about this. Doug Weiss is not happy about this. I'm sure he was whispering some sweet nothings or some acidic nothings into her ear at bedtime. And one to Jodi decides, you know what, I'm gonna nip all this in the bud. You either, do what I want and submit to me and toe the line, or you're out. And they're like, we can't pretend. We can't make out like we're happy about it. It must have been going on for some while because Jonathan and Suzy felt compelled to record all the goings on that was going on. And in recording it, it was just dark. It was cultish. It was weird. It felt like bullying. It felt antagonistic. This one guy that Jodi had called into the meeting kept telling him, you submit. Jodi's God to you. She's God to you. Submit. If you don't submit, you're out of here because this is God. This is God on earth to you, which is blasphemous. Let's call a spade a spade. It's blasphemy because God said we shouldn't worship anyone other than God. So how can your mother, your boss, be God to you? Nobody is God to you. God is God and God is apart. Do you know what I mean? And they were like, this isn't right. This doesn't feel right. It didn't sit well with their spirit. It didn't sit well with my spirit. The whole conversation, you can go and listen to it on The Unction, on, what's the name of this woman? The Unction, Laura-Lynn Taylor does a lot about this. The name of the journalist, there's a journalist lady who I do follow, but her name has escaped me, brain fog, but she basically is the one that exposed the whole thing. And the recording is on there. It is dark. It's over an hour long. And imagine and that is like the edited version, but imagine sitting there with somebody for over an hour, somebody saying, submit. This is God to you, submit. And literally it was like that. It was like they were being browbeaten with this submit thing. Long story short, they both lose their jobs. Subsequently then they found out that, well, actually, not only have they lost their jobs, but a lot of things started coming out of the woodworks. A lot of things started getting exposed. And then they found out that this Pete guy, Rachel's husband, wasn't actually exonerated for the daughter's abuse. So that was covered up. And when all of that came out, they were just like, do you know what? Sack it. Burn the whole house down, basically. Let's just call it what it is. They were like, burn the whole house down because this is just madness. And it doesn't compute. It doesn't feel right. It's been going on for a while. I'm probably going to cut this video into 2 parts because it's running a bit long and I don't want to be on here talking for ages. Might even be more parts than 2. But when I come back, I'll tell you a bit more of the story. So